What up, man? It's your boy. Big up Jacoby the greatest. Big up Jacoby the man. Big up Jacoby. Yeah. Man, look. Y'all know, folks, I'm from Houston, Texas, so I'm gonna react to a video about a dude talking about gangs in Houston and shit like that. So shit. I'm from the north side of Houston, so shit. Oh shit, we gonna watch this shit though. Hold on. Get right to it. Get right into it. There we go. I bet. All right, let go.
Houston, Texas is a city where everything's big. From cars and rims to rappers and their chains, it's a city that's had an enormous influence on hip-hop's evolution. From early pioneers like the Ghetto Boys, DJ Screw, to the guys that brought the unique Houston sound all the way to the national mainstream in the mid-2000s. However, these days that influence is often overlooked, as other sounds like trap and drill have taken over the airways. But Houston's influence is still there for those who know what they're looking for. One of the more obvious examples being the stuff that you can seemingly find in every modern rapper's double cup, while another example being one of the biggest moguls the rap game has ever seen, who's helped launch the careers of some of the biggest artists of today, while also influencing the industry from behind the scenes with an iron fist. But Houston itself has gone through some major changes, as the city that was once relatively safe compared to many other major cities where large street gangs had begun to form years earlier, has turned itself into one of America's gang capitals, which has also influenced the music scene. One of the main faces of the Houston rap scene being the loud and flamboyant Sauce Walka, whose music carries the legacy of Houston's old sound, rooted in syrup, slabs, and screw tapes, while also showcasing the raw, aggressive energy of a new generation shaped by gangs, street politics, and social media warfare. Unfortunately, Sauce Walka's life and career would almost come to an end when he was shot in the leg during a recent targeted attack in Memphis.
Rapper Sauce Walka was shot in the leg in Memphis just this past Saturday. Another man was shot and did not survive. Tonight, Memphis police say they've identified 21-year-old Jaden Dandridge as the shooting suspect. A warrant has been issued for Dandridge's arrest.
While another rapper, Sayso P, who was part of Sauce Walka's TSF record label, was also killed at the scene. This being yet another dark reminder of how increasingly blurred the lines have become between music and the streets in modern day rap. So in this video, we're going deep into the H-Town underground, from the city's gang and music scenes to the major players in the streets, studios, and boardrooms who shaped them. If you want to watch my videos uncut and extended, go to patreon.com/traplawross, where you can get those for just $2. Also, you can now watch my new drops on Spotify, so go search me there. Here's the video. It's October the 16th, 2017, a sunny Tuesday afternoon in southeast Houston, and Sam Johnson, a 53-year-old handyman, is just trying to make an honest living by fixing up a house on London Street, having no idea that in less than 10 minutes, he'll be caught in the crossfire of a war that's been raging on for years. A stolen Blue Mazda speeds down the block, and before it even comes to a stop, 4 gunmen inside begin firing. The car crashes into a ditch, but the shooters don't miss a beat. They jump out, still shooting, before carjacking a woman, holding her baby, and making a getaway. When the smoke clears, Sam Johnson is dead, an innocent man killed in the gang war he had nothing to do with. A conflict between two Houston gangs that had already claimed over 50 lives since 2011. Sam Johnson's murder was about to expose something that would shock even federal investigators, because by 2017, Houston had become home to over 20,000 gang members and 400 different gangs. But to understand how Houston became a battleground where innocent handymen get caught in the crossfire, we need to go back to the beginning. Now, most people think Houston's gang problem started in the 90s with the explosion of crack cocaine, and in some ways that is true, because while some other major cities had been dealing with large street gangs since the 60s, 70s, or even earlier, in Houston, such gangs were still largely non-existent. However, the seeds of Houston's gang empire were already planted in the 70s and early 80s. At the time, Houston's black communities were dealing with the same problems plaguing urban America everywhere: poverty, segregation, and a lack of opportunities that pushed young men towards the streets. As a result, small neighborhood-based crews would begin forming in neighborhoods like the 3rd Ward and 5th Ward. They were nothing like the organized gangs we know today, but the foundation was being laid. But while cities like Los Angeles and Chicago had already developed their own gang cultures, Houston was about to become something different, a melting pot where gangs from across America would come in to set up shop. It started with migration throughout the 70s and 80s, as people were moving to Houston from cities like Chicago and LA, drawn in by job opportunities and the oil industry. Some of these migrants would also bring with them the colors, codes, and criminal knowledge of some of America's most dangerous gangs. But the streets weren't the only place where Houston's gang future was being written. Inside the Texas prison system, something even more significant was happening. In 1984, the Texas Mexican Mafia would be born behind bars.
The Texas Mexican Mafia is considered a Tier 1 gang threat to our state. They got the highest rating threat to us as any gang member.
The East Los Angeles-based gang with connections to Mexican drug cartels is run like the military, according to the FBI. They have a leader who is in federal prison in Colorado. They have a constitution, and you must kill someone to get in, and you don't get out until you're dead.
And a year later, the Aryan Brotherhood would make their Texas presence known too, while throughout the 80s, a prison gang called Tango Blast was forming as a protection group against the more established gangs like the Texas Syndicate.
It was a gang to help people go home because the other gang members were recruiting people and letting them go stab somebody.
Yeah.
Catching more life sentence, catching 30, 40 years more, just to, tell them you gotta go stab this dude. You don't even know this dude. They just tell you go stab him.
Yeah. Texas prison gangs may seem somewhat disconnected from Houston streets, but here's the thing about Texas. It's got one of the largest prison systems in America, and Houston, being the biggest city in the state, is where a lot of these gang members end up when they get out. By the mid-1980s, there was a perfect storm brewing in Houston, where the small neighborhood crews provided the foundation and the prison gangs provided organizational blueprints, while migrants bought the cultures and criminal enterprises of America's biggest gang capitals. Added Houston's strategic location, perfect for drug trafficking, sitting right between Mexico and the rest of America, and all the ingredients for an explosion were set to take place. But just like in other cities in America, where the gang problem hadn't yet gotten out of control, nobody in Houston seemed to understand just how big that explosion would be. By 1988, Houston had 23 gangs with 333 members, but just a year later, in 1991, that number had exploded to 103 gangs with 1,098 members, a 230% increase in just 3 years.
On Monday night, City Under Siege reporter Sherry Martinez will begin a special report on Houston juveniles who were busted for allegedly selling crack cocaine.
On a Wednesday night, a school night, yet this 15-year-old is being arrested for allegedly selling crack cocaine.
Did he sell to the undercover officer?
Yeah. He's going to be our primary delivery, I believe.
You feel this is wrong to do?
Not really.
You don't think it's wrong? Why?
Because making money.
3 other juveniles have been arrested for allegedly dealing drugs. 2 of them are brothers.
You said you've seen kids come in with large amounts of cash. What have you seen?
$700, $800, $900, food stamps, the Gucci pants.
This 13-year-old says he's sold crack for about a year, making $150 a week.
What do you buy with that money?
Clothes and, give money to my mother and stuff.
The Department of Justice took notice, sending investigators to figure out what the hell was happening in Houston. Their assessment was damning. These were young, immature, violent, and loosely organized groups, motivated mainly by the profits of drug trafficking. They would classify Houston's gangs into 4 categories: criminal street gangs, identity gangs, racist gangs, and bizarrely, satanic gangs, though the last one was probably more about the satanic panic hysteria of the 80s rather than actual devil worshipping happening on the block. But what made Houston more different from other gang cities wasn't just the numbers, it was the diversity. Houston was becoming what people would start calling the Third Coast, a gang battleground positioned perfectly between the established gang territories of Los Angeles and Chicago. Like I mentioned earlier, the gangs that set up shop in Houston brought their full organizational structures with them, and what happened next turned the city into a battlefield unlike anywhere else in America. The first wave came from Los Angeles. Blood sets like the 5'9" Bounty Hunters and 5'9" Pyrus established their territories, the Bounty Hunters repping their red and black colors.
You do got a lot of I'm gonna say foreign gangs, I guess, because they're not from Houston. You do got a lot of out of town gangs and out of city gangs in Houston. A lot. Then you got some homegrown ones too, but majority you meet be some like an out of town gang. You be like, what you is on blood, what you is crib, what you is GD, what you is BD, what you is Stone, what you is you got niggas who claim all types of shit. I'm from out of there. You meet motherfuckers growing up, shit. You meet motherfuckers from all part of the goddamn country. I ain't lying. Motherfuckers be from all over the goddamn country. I'm talking about they be from Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Louisiana, California, Colorado, Carolina, both of them. Georgia, they be from New York, they be from Illinois, Minnesota. I met a girl from Nevada. I'm talking about what?
And 5-point
Every
stars,
part of the
while the
country.
5-9 Pyrus rep the color red and 5-point crowns. Their main enemies, the Crips, would also make a lasting impact on Houston, starting with sets like the 5-2 Hoover Gangster Crips, who would establish their presence and bring with them the colors blue and orange. The orange was traditional for all Hoover sets, and this was the same organization that would later put a 13-year-old kid named Max O'Cream on in their set, a decision that would eventually change how Houston gangs operated forever. Meanwhile, Chicago's influence arrived with the Gangster Disciples and Black Disciples, these folk nation organizations bringing their own criminal organizations to Houston's streets. But Houston wasn't content to just host out-of-town gangs, and the city would also birth some significant homegrown gangs, like the Southwest Cholos, who emerged as a powerful Latino gang, while the Fifth Ward Circle represented the neighborhood loyalty that had existed long before any colors or codes arrived. By the 2000s, authorities were tracking gangs across Houston's sprawling geography. The South Side became home to the Third Ward crews, with 103 gangs.
City, man. I know where I'm at. But that city, man, you hear me? Yeah, man. That city, man. H-Town, the best time represent the dirty South. You hear me? That what it is, man. But yeah, it's a big ass city, folk. Without that, oh, he ain't got it. If you go out here, you go, take this road. You go in Houston. You go way out here. Then you go up there. It's a place called Navasota. That whole legendary. I ain't gonna lie.
Various Crip and Blood sets controlling everything from Sunnyside to South Park. The suburb of Alief became a stronghold.
It's in Richmond, Rosenberg. They motherfucker that crazy.
Sets controlling everything from Sunnyside to South Park. The suburb of Alief became a stronghold for Latino gangs like the MS-13 and the Southwest Cholos, while the North Side saw Acre Homes, Independent Heights, and Homestead developing their...
Right here's Independent Heights. And you got Studywood, he said Homestead. Yeah, he already said it.
Their own gang territories, and the East Side became prime real estate for gangs like the 5-2 Hoover Crips around Clinton Park and Federal Road. The 2000s also saw a shift that would change everything about how these organizations operated. Like in many other cities, the predominant...
I mean, we ran it one time, but pay attention how the shit is all over the city. It's not just one part. It's not just the South Side, it's like the part. No, just notice how this all over the city. It's not one part of the city that ain't got a little set in it.
The South Side became home to the Third Ward crews with 103 gangs, various Crip and Blood sets controlling everything from Sunnyside to South Park. The suburb of Alief became a stronghold for Latino gangs like the MS-13 and the Southwest Cholos, while the North Side saw Acre Homes, Independent Heights, and Homestead developing their own gang territories. And the East Side became prime real estate for gangs like the 5-2 Hoover Crips around Clinton Park and Federal Road. The 2000s also saw a shift that would change everything about how these organizations operated. Like in many other cities, the predominantly black gangs in Houston began moving away from traditional gang structures, forming what can be better described as neighborhood cliques.
Right now, Houston, you have neighborhoods, you have cliques. You can have a Blood and a Crip right next to each other putting in work because it's all about the clique and the hood that you are.
You're not lying. Houston, bro, you can have a nigga that's a GD, a BD, you can have a Crip, a Blood. You can have this whole set could be all just niggas from all, this nigga from Louisiana, this nigga from Chicago, this nigga from Houston, this nigga from Acres Home, he moved to this side, this nigga from California, but they all get met up one day, they all just got cool with each other, they all was niggas, they all niggas from hoods, but from different parts of the city. I'm from the hood in Chicago, I'm a GD, I mean, we BDs over there in Chicago, I just moved out here with my people, I'm still BD, I'm from California, we Crips out there in California, I just happen to move, I'm from my hood to over here in Houston. Oh, you hood, I'm hood. Oh yeah, we cool. Okay, bet. We got these. Oh, he from Acres Home. Okay, bet. We lock in with him. He from Studywood. Oh, we locked in with him. He just moved. He could have to move over here too. Oh, he from Florida. Oh yeah, shit crazy. We finna lock in with him. You notice all these niggas from the hood, but they all from different hoods, some part of the whole goddamn country or different parts of the hood, the city. But they all just moved to Houston. And they all just happen to link up and be cool with each other. Now that they all cool with each other, they just rip their own clique. They got a little clique. They just make some shit up. Okay, bet. This our clique name is this doo. That's the clique name, and we on that. But I'm still GD, but I'm repping. I'm a GD that rep. Oh, I'm a GD that rep. 223. Oh yeah, he a Crip that rep 223. He a Stone that rep 223 because he from there. But we are rep 223. So if you dissing 223, you dissing out of us. And also if you diss the GDs, you dissing me too at the same time. So you. But that's how it is out here, though. I ain't gonna lie. That's how it is out here, though.
Or from.
These cliques brought together members from different gangs, even traditional rivals, who were now united by geography rather than colors.
A lot of Bloods, you had a lot of Crips, some Vice Lords, GDs, MS-13s.
One person who embodied this new approach.
And the Mexicans. You had the Mexican niggas gang bang with the blacks all day, every day, without hesitation. Them motherfuckers gang bang with the blacks all day, every day. You got your Mexican gangs too, but at the same time, you could be a Mexican gang. They don't really do too many race wars out here, but you know, you get up but Mexicans and blacks, they all gang bang like the same shit. I ain't gonna lie. You could be a Mexican dude that moved from the whatever, your people from Mexico. You grew up in poverty, but you grew up around these black dudes, and mind you, these black dudes now from Houston. They just happen to all moved out here at a young age because they people just want to move out here. Or they just moved out here recently. They not even from Houston, but they all grouped up now. And you Mexican shit, fuck it. You for the grouped up with the black dudes, shit. We all grew up with each other. Now y'all grouped up. Now y'all got to click together. And boom, just like that. You feel me? It's all because y'all all relive around each other. So that's your gang. The niggas you grew up with, and the niggas you came and happened to move, and by the time you in high school, that elementary, middle school, and high school, that's when they all create they shit. By the time that shit, that's when they all be making that shit.
Was Maxo Cream. After getting put on by the 5'2" Hoover gangster Crips at just age 13, Maxo would learn the traditional gang system firsthand. But by 2007, when he formed the Cream Click Gang, he took a completely different approach. The Cream Click Gang brought together members from everywhere. Bloods, Crips, Vice Lords, Folk Nation sets, and even homies from the suburbs, showcasing the new Houston model in action. For years, the Cream Click would operate successfully, mixing criminal enterprise with Maxo's rising music career. But in 2016, federal agents would raid their operation, busting them for shipping marijuana from California to Texas through the mail. Authorities seized thousands of pounds of drugs, thousands of pills, and numerous guns.
Tonight, pounds of pot, piles of pills, guns, body armor, and stacks of cash as well. Now, all of this was seized in a drug sting against a group that calls themselves the Cream Click Gang. And among the 8 people arrested, a Houston rapper.
Investigators say these men were using boxes just like this to ship drugs all the way across the country. What they didn't know is that they were being watched the whole time.
Maxo beat the case, but it showed how even the small neighborhood cliques weren't safe from the law. While Maxo was dealing with federal heat, the clique model would spread all across Houston in ways that were much more violent. As the neighborhood-focused approach that worked for mixed crews like Cream Click was also fueling deadly territorial wars between rival blocks. The 100% Third Ward Gang and their rivals, the Young Scott Block, had been feuding since 2011. Both were what authorities called exclusively local and hometown groups, fighting over specific blocks in the Third Ward and Sunnyside areas. What made this conflict particularly vicious was its personal nature. This wasn't about colors or national gang affiliations, it was beef between neighbors, where geographic proximity bred intense hatred, and that hatred was turning Houston into a war zone. By 2017, this single conflict between 2 relatively small gangs had claimed over 50 lives. The violence had become so routine that innocent people like Sam Johnson were getting caught in the crossfire during broad daylight shootings.
Well, during a bond hearing in July for a so-called gang-related murder in Southeast Houston, HPD Police Detective Adam Bach disclosed in court there have been more than 50 deaths since 2011 related to that gang war.
This was just one feud. Federal authorities were tracking much bigger threats operating all across the entire state, threats that weren't just running operations from Houston streets, but also from behind the walls of Texas prisons. While everyone was focused on what was happening in the streets, the real power was being consolidated behind bars, where the Texas Department of Criminal Justice houses around 20% of inmates who are identified as gang members. We're talking about one of the largest prison systems in America, and inside these walls, gangs don't just survive, they thrive, recruit, and run criminal empires that stretch far beyond the prison fences. The biggest player in this system is Tango Blast, with an estimated 17,000 to 19,000 members statewide, all while lacking a centralized command structure. Instead, they operate as loosely affiliated crews based on cities: Houston Tango, Dallas Tango, and San Antonio Tango. However, However, this wasn't always the plan. Tango Blast formed in the 1980s out of pure survival, as Texas prisons were dominated by established gangs like the Texas Syndicate and Mexicanemi, and new inmates needed protection. But what started as a defensive alliance against these older, more organized prison gangs slowly evolved into something much more powerful. The decentralized structure that began as a weakness became Tango Blast's greatest strength, because when law enforcement takes down a traditional gang leader, the whole organization can crumble. But with Tango Blast, there's no head to cut off. Over time, Houston would become the crown jewel in this prison empire. The city's proximity to the Mexican border made it perfect for drug smuggling operations. The massive Harris County jail system became a recruitment hub, and when Tango Blast members got out, many settled in Houston, bringing their prison connections to the streets. But Tango Blast wasn't the only prison gang in Houston using the city as their base. MS-13, originally from El Salvador, would also discover that Houston offered everything they needed. The city's large Latino population provided cover for their operations. The port and highway systems made trafficking easy, and the proximity to the border meant easy access to their Central American networks. By 2018, law enforcement classified MS-13 as a Tier 1 gang threat to the entire state of Texas. They were involved in drug smuggling, human trafficking, and trafficking, and while their numbers in Houston might have been relatively small, their reputation for brutal violence was massive.
The Mexican population is huge, man. I stay around a lot of Hispanics. I say Hispanics though, because these motherfuckers be from Guatemala. I mean, Guatemala somewhere, Argentina, Honduras, Chile. I'm talking about Salvador. I'm talking about these motherfuckers be from damn near South America, damn near any part of South America, damn near.
Other prison gangs like Hermanos de Pistoleros Latinos and various factions were also using the Texas system to recruit and organize. The Harris County Jail became more than just a place to hold suspects. It became a networking hub where gang members from different organizations could meet, plan, and coordinate. The prison-to-street pipeline was creating sophisticated criminal enterprises with international connections, prison-based leaderships, and street operations that could adapt faster than local law enforcement could respond. Gangs offer protection to vulnerable inmates, but that protection comes with a price, a lifelong loyalty that continues long after release. The gangsters running these operations were about to become some of the most infamous criminals in Houston history, and top of that list is Shaquille O'Neal Richards. Not that Shaq. This is a man who authorities describe as the leader of the 100% 3rd Ward Gang, and someone the Department of Justice calls one of the worst of the worst. In 2023, federal prosecutors would indict him for ordering the 2017 murder of Sam Johnson, that innocent handyman from our opening story, right from his prison cell, showing the level of organization and influence that this guy pulls. However, these individual gangsters, as dangerous as they are, represent just the tip of the iceberg, because when we start looking at the body counts from some of Houston's gang wars, the numbers become almost incomprehensible.
I'm gonna tell you this too. A lot of these niggas in Houston, they got hands. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of niggas in Houston fight. They fight your ass. A lot of niggas will fight you before they shoot you, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. They rather fight. A lot of niggas would rather throw hands and shit to show they got the best hands. A lot of niggas would fight. So don't think you coming in this bitch, oh, I can beat the niggas up. They motherfuckers throw hands. Hispanics throw hands too. They throw hands too. So everybody be throwing them bitches. So don't be in this bitch thinking, you know, it's all gravy and shit. Now the motherfuckers be throwing them bitches. A lot of niggas be throwing hands in this bitch too.
In 2021 alone, Houston's murder rate hit 473 homicides, with gangs linked to a substantial portion of these killings.
I be at the house. I'll be at work.
Of course, just about gangs and violence, as while the streets were being consumed by territorial wars and federal investigations. On the other side of the city was quietly building something that would change hip hop forever. Houston is a city with one of the most unique hip-hop cultures in America, known for things like the slowed-down sound of chopped and screwed music.
He invented chopped and screwed music, which was essentially slowing down existing records to a snail's pace, like a syrupy drawl.
And I ain't gotta talk behind your back what I said about you, I said it too.
Which was deeply influenced by the city's thirst for the so-called purple drank, aka lean, a codeine-based cough syrup that's mixed with soda.
I've tried it, but I don't drink it though.
New York, them, they drink, you know what I'm saying? West Coast known for their weed, you know what I'm saying? Houston, we known for our thing, you know what I'm saying?
This is lean oil. Something gonna put you to sleep, man, on your ass if you drink too much.
As well as candy-painted slabs swanging down the boulevard, playing music from the massive custom speakers poking out of a popped-out trunk. However, before Houston became known for its distinctive style, which would eventually even take the city to the very top of the rap game for a period of time in the mid-2000s, it started from very humble beginnings. Just like most other southern cities that took their time to catch up with the rap scenes of cities like New York, the birthplace of hip-hop, and Los Angeles, the birthplace of gangster rap, but when Houston did finally catch on, it came out with force, in many ways pioneering the sound of the South. This is mostly because of one group, the Ghetto Boys, which was originally founded by three members, Raheem, Sire Jukebox, and Sir Rap-A-Lot, who's the brother of legendary Houston rap legend Jay Prince, who we'll discuss more later. However, the group would go through some significant changes during the mid-80s, and would eventually be formed by four members, DJ Ready Red, Scarface, Willie D, and Bushwick Bill, who would go on to make a national breakthrough with their 1989 album Grip It on that other level. The album would receive significant underground buzz and caught the attention of legendary producer Rick Rubin, who would then take many of the songs from the album, together with some new and old songs, and reissue them through his Def American Recordings imprint under the album name The Ghetto Boys in 1990. The album brought the Houston rap scene to major attention nationwide, although the biggest reason for much of its attention was due to the fact that Geffen Records, who were the distributor for Rick Rubin's Def American, would back out from their distribution deal with the rap group after hearing the music on the album, deeming the lyrics way too violent and sexually explicit, which would cause headlines all over the country. These kinds of early controversies contributed to Southern rap becoming eventually known by the moniker Dirty South, due to the extreme violence and other explicit themes often present in the music. While the Ghetto Boys are often considered to be the pioneers of so-called horrorcore rap, a subgenre probably best known for the rap group The Insane Clown Posse, aka ICP, whose member Violent J would later tell the Ghetto Boys rapper Willie D how the Ghetto Boys had influenced their sound.
And for anybody who don't know, the wicked horrorcore is rappers rapping about fantasy horror. You know what I mean? Things, anything supernatural or something of fantasy, like a horror movie or something. You know what I mean? Anything along those lines.
Violence.
The first horrorcore song I ever heard was Assassins.
Yeah.
By the original Ghetto Boys.
Ghetto Boys would then go on to release their official breakthrough album, the 1991 hip-hop classic We Can't Be Stopped, which included the smash hit Mind Playing Tricks on Me. The album continued on the direction that had first placed the group under public scrutiny, the album cover including an image of Bushwick Bill getting pushed on a stretcher by Willie D and Scarface, the image being taken shortly after a real incident where Bushwick Bill had gotten shot in the eye. However, while the Ghetto Boys were making a way for Houston and the entire South with their controversial gangster rap sound, there was also another subgenre of rap forming in the city, pioneered by a DJ who enjoyed sipping the infamous purple drank while trying to make the music he was playing match the way that he was feeling under the influence. I'm of course talking about DJ Screw, who would invent the so-called chopped and screwed music by slowing down or screwing songs down on tempo and pitch, and then playing the same song on both turntables with a beat difference, allowing him to create a chopping effect where certain parts of the song were repeated. This combination would create an almost psychedelic feel, while transforming existing songs to the point where they sounded completely new. Screw himself was likely influenced by earlier Houston DJs like Daryl Scott and Michael Price, who both experimented in the 80s with slowing down R&B songs to either create smoother transitions between songs or to achieve a more laid-back and mellow vibe. But Screw's unique approach would become a huge phenomenon in the Houston rap scene during the 90s, to the point where people would line up in their cars for blocks just to get their hands on his latest mixtape that he was selling straight out of his house. Screw and his friends would also have a rap group called the Screwed Up Clique, made up of numerous Houston legends like Fat Pat, Big Hawk, Big Mello, Big Mo, Big Pokey, ESG, Lil Flip, Lil Kiki, Zero, and Lil O, the Botany Boys, and many others. They would often meet at Screw's house where they would all freestyle together while sipping lean and smoking dope.
Remember, players and haters had no common denominators. It get greater later if you're straight for perpetrators. I pull more stunts than Evel Knievel, cause I'm on that chase for the rule of all evil, trying to thread the needle, making hits like the Beatles. This is just the first chapter of a legendary sequel. Every day, all day, we parlay and sip pints of lean and 2 liters with a fast grip. Too clean on the scene, G'd up and down, riding on foes, pimping in the streets of H-Time. I'm on fire, man. They better leave me alone. He on fire. He's on fire. Going down. I'm on the race with everything.
A lot of legendary
himself
rappers.
would unfortunately pass away in the year 2000, reportedly due to an accidental overdose caused by his sipping lean. His influence would continue to shape the direction of the Houston rap scene for years to come, from the slow down beats to the codeine-soaked cadences of the rappers, and even the way that the songs would often create impeccably catchy choruses by sampling old Houston classics and pitching the voice down in the chopped and screwed spirit of DJ Screw. This unique style would pay off big time during the mid-2000s, when Houston would lead the southern takeover of the rap game during the heyday of the so-called Dirty South era. Several Houston artists would become mainstream household names during this period, including guys like Mike Jones, Paul Wall, Slim Thug, Chamillionaire, Trey the Truth, and of course the Underground Kings, aka UGK, made up of Bun B and Pimp C, who were originally from the city of Port Arthur, but would rep Houston heavily during this time. Unfortunately, this golden age of Houston rap would eventually come to an end during the late 2000s and early 2010s, as other sounds and subgenres would take over. However, in recent years, there have been numerous great rappers from the city getting mainstream attention once again, like Megan Thee Stallion, Travis Scott, and Don Toliver, just to name a few. But the noticeable difference is that while these rappers sometimes rep their city in their music, they're all very different stylistically, these styles usually having very little to do with the unique sound that first made Houston popular. However, there are also some artists who merge the old school H-Town flavor with modern energy, most notably Sauce Walker and his TSF label, who have injected a rawer, more gangster edge into Houston's classic formula, turning the city's slow-rolling tradition into something much more volatile, but more about that later. However, there's one element of the Houston rap scene that seemingly never went out of style, but only continued to spread its influence across the country, and I'm of course talking about the infamous Purple Drank. Because while Houston's unique sound may have faded from the charts, the culture of lean quietly crept into hip-hop's bloodstream, stating a whole generation of rappers one double cup at a time. Of course, it's nothing new that drugs influence music, but the influence of lean on not just the sound of rap, but the hip-hop culture more broadly has arguably been so expansive for the past 2 decades that it's difficult to quantify. Whether we're talking about the slowdown of tempos and the birth of the so-called mumble rap, or the subsequent SoundCloud era that followed, where the lean's unholy union with another central nervous system depressant, Xanax, allowed the rappers to lose their final brain cells and produce something truly magical, or the birth of the more melancholic trap sound that often focused on pain, numbness, and addiction, where lean was almost like a gateway drug to cheaper and more potent opioids. But unfortunately, lean has also caused untold damage in its wake, with the Houston rap scene alone having seen numerous people lose their lives due to overdoses and other health complications caused by this purple devil, including of course, as already mentioned, DJ Screw, but also screwed up click artist Big Mo, who died due to a heart attack that was likely caused by the combination of obesity and overindulgence in lean. His nickname after all being Bar Baby, Bar being the name of an old pharmaceutical company that used to produce some of the bombest syrup of all time. And then there was of course the tragic death of Pimp C, who was found dead inside of a hotel room in LA only a few months after Big Mo's death. His cause of death being ruled a combination of sleep apnea and accidental overdose on lean. In the current era, where rappers are seemingly snorting pills that may or may not be laced with fent right before sliding on their ops, dying off one of the weakest opioids around may seem like an unlikely way to go, but even if you don't end up overdosing on it, you may just end up going bankrupt. Because particularly ever since the authorities started clamping down on prescription codeine cough syrup due to the negative headlines in the mid-2010s, the supply of this purple nectar has become increasingly low, while the prices have become sky high. And while around 2013, a rapper like Chief Keef paid about $600 for a pint of cough syrup, which was already considered to be a very high price, only reserved for one brand, Actavis, the gold standard of lean.
I'm cute. She wanna have sex.
Nowadays, the Actavis cough syrup has been discontinued due to bad publicity caused by celebrities abusing it, while other brands of cough syrup that the rappers wouldn't even look at before now go for thousands of dollars a pint, if you can even find one, which is why numerous rappers have publicly admitted the ridiculous amounts that they have spent to support this habit, including the Houston rapper Sauce Walker, who actually revealed that he has spent a ridiculous $5 million on lean during his lifetime, starting his decades-long sipathon at just the tender age of 9.
Sipping drink is not like doing no other drug in America. It's the most expensive drug to do as a...
You say you spent $5 million on that? That's facts?
Easy.
$5 million on drink?
Easy.
Damn.
Easy.
You from the city?
You gotta think I've been sipping drink. I've been sipping drink since I was 9 years old. The codeine drink was the first drug I ever did in my life. It was the first drug I ever consumed.
Right.
However, while the real syrup has dried up and the price of a pint is pushing past a mortgage payment, lean still hasn't disappeared. In fact, the culture around it is bigger than ever, and like most things these days, it has gone digital. Now, if you're a Reddit disciple like me, you might have heard about a subreddit called r/drank, which is the successor of an earlier subreddit called r/lean. Lean. This is a place where the most dedicated sippers share pictures of their recent scores and obsess over syrup and exotic sodas like they're some kind of rare collectible. One of the more interesting phenomena on this subreddit, which perfectly captures the current high status of lean as a rare and luxury item, are posts about so-called dino juice, cough syrup that's so old it's basically prehistoric, with some of the most devoted sipologists collecting these mythical pints like rare antique pieces of art. And if you throw a house party and you're not careful, you might find one of these leanologists in your grandmother's attic, rummaging through the cabinets in the hopes that they might find a 4 of that vintage Ack from 2006.
It's Bear, older than you. Still purple. Yeah! Oh my god!
Oh my god!
But while lean may have been the biggest force in influencing the sound of Houston and beyond, there was also another major force working from behind the curtain and shaping the infrastructure and movement behind the music. This was, of course, the biggest rap mogul to come out of H-Town, Jay Prince, who during his long reign on top of Houston's hip-hop hierarchy has become both respected and feared, with an influence that allegedly extends far beyond music, from the streets to politics, earning him a reputation as the official godfather of Houston.
Bitch, hold on, we're gonna stop right there. I'm gonna record the rest of this shit. I'm just gonna watch the whole other this shit. But yeah, that's your boy, Big L Jacoby, man. We're gonna watch the other this shit about Houston, man. I'm quiet because I want to see what they talking about, because I'm from the goddamn me city, hit me. But shit, that's your boy, Big L Jacoby, man. I'm gonna be out. I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna watch the rest of this shit on bro. But yeah, man, hold on. Let me get out this hole. See y'all.